Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That is Jack. I'm Conrad, and this is the 45 wrap-up of match week 17. All of the festive fixtures are now done. We're tired. It's been a long 17 days.
It has been.
But some of the more interesting matches from the weekend, some of them we thought were going to be interesting, turned out to be
snoozers.
A bit of a dud, starting with Everton and West Ham. First loss in 5 since, or had won 4 in a row. First loss since November 28th for Everton. No creativity, no excitement, no goals for Everton whatsoever. West Ham's part, they got Benrahma in the starting lineup. Meanwhile, Fabianski, late scratch, Darren Randolph getting the late call to, hey, come on, play. And Declan Rice and Thomas Souček continued their metronomic performances. They've now played every minute of every match in the Premier League for West Ham. Souček with the winner in a bit of an oops. I scored. The ball kind of ended up at his feet. He ended up kind of kicking it into the back of the net. Didn't really look like it was all that intentional, but either way, West Ham, 3 points.
Yeah, what a signing he's been for them. He's been monumental. And him and Rice have been just such a great core to that side they've been able to build around. And this is a big result for them because they, unlike Everton, were on a bit of a poor run of form. They were 4 matches without a win versus Everton were 4 matches in a row with a win. So big deal for them against this is a very big win for them because Everton are a very good side away from home. So this should be treated as one of your better wins of the season so far. And
they're grinding them out. I mean, they are doing well.
I liked their shape. I think having Benrahma in the starting lineup was good. I think that they still lacked a bit of creativity, but everybody has pretty much because it's just been so much a grueling fixture list that I think no team except for maybe Man City and maybe Spurs can look at these few matches and say, yeah, we were creative, we were tight at the back, we were all these things, but Randolph did a decent enough job, didn't face too much. They yanked Calvert-Lewin in the second half for Tosun, which didn't make much sense when they were chasing a winner.
No. I mean, he brought on Rodriguez, which was good to see.
Good to see him back because he is a huge deal for them. So not a whole lot that I'm going to draw from this result, except for the fact that teams are tired at this point and there's going to be a lot of rotation. And as
West Ham have a tough schedule coming up. They have a lot of matches in a short amount of time.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where these teams go from here. If Everton can continue their form in a positive vein, and if West Ham can kind of turn their ship around with this result as the catalyst for that.
I mean, they're only 3 points apart. Everton 7th on 29, Hammers 10th on 26. There's a lot of teams in that 23, 26, 29 range right now, and you're approaching halfway through the season. You got 26 points. You got to feel pretty good about yourself if you're David Moyes and West Ham right now. Next up for Everton, they'll be away to Wolves. West Ham look to continue good form, home to Burnley. That's never an easy match by any stretch of the imagination. Never. Probably one of the more fun matches to watch this weekend. Much better than that last one was, for sure. Man United and Aston Villa. Aston Villa just are so much fun to watch. And meanwhile, Solskjaer has that Man United team scoring goals. They're playing pretty good football right now. United beat Villa at Old Trafford. Now 10 matches unbeaten in the Premier League. Martial, the header at the 40-minute mark. Grealish to Traore for the equalizer about an hour in. And then Pogba draws another penalty, which may or may not be controversial depending upon which side of Manchester you sit. Fernandes with the conversion, points to United. A fun match to watch all around.
Look, it was common on Twitter to see people saying that, oh, look, Pogba tripped himself. His foot hit the back of his calf. But it was a tap tackle is what it's called in rugby, where you tap the guy's leg, and it bumps.
You do that to your friends as you're a kid all the time.
Exactly, yeah. So it's a very soft penalty, don't get me wrong, but there was contact that caused him to go down in the box. And people compared it to the Sadio Mane one, where he was also kind of tackled in the box against Southampton. Difference was it wasn't called on the field, and so when it's called on the field, there's clear contact by the defender. Soft, yes. A foul. Everywhere else on the pitch, yes. In the box, it just feels harsh because the difference between a penalty or a foul anywhere else except for the penalty area is so different. There's so much less, especially with Man United, who have gotten, I think, 32 penalties since the start of 2018-19, which is about almost double anybody else. So people will call
But they're creating the chances, right? So they're creating opportunities for those fouls to occur. Whether or not you think they're legitimate or not, they're creating a lot of opportunities up front.
Yeah, and I think we talked about in the last match, Everton and West Ham, and the suffering that they had because of a ton of matches and congestion. Aston Villa just kind of say, we don't really care. We're going to play our way regardless. And I love that about them.
They are one of my favorite teams to watch play.
Exactly.
In the Premier
What
League.
They are is they're in a great run of form. They Yeah, at Old Trafford, going down twice, they still were fighting. They still looked like they had a chance to get some points.
1.78 expected goals.
Yes.
Obviously, United with the 2.37, but still creating a lot of opportunities.
Yes, and I think they should be very happy with that. This is a pretty good result for them, I think. On another day, a bit more clinical finishing, a bit more tight work defensively, and you get the points at Old Trafford. And I struggle with Man United because we'll talk about Liverpool in a little bit, but they're on a good run of form. Liverpool on a bad run of form. That's why they're kind of converging at a point where United can pass them in the table. I still think Liverpool have a better chances for the title. Man City even have a better chance for the title. But it all depends on if they can maintain some consistency because it's been so inconsistent. Every club has been plagued with a poor run of form. Villa haven't really had one yet, so I think they should probably expect one based on everyone else's. Man City were poor at the beginning. Chelsea are in their form right now. Arsenal are recovering from theirs. Liverpool are in the middle of theirs right now. And Man United a few weeks ago, when they had gotten knocked out of the Champions League, they were in their poor run of form. So
Villa still have the two games in hand, as does City. So they're both still kind of in the ascendancy. So
Exactly.
another 2 matches in that tight window may have made the difference.
Exactly.
So they could be getting the benefit of that schedule.
I anticipate that it's going to be a very wide open title race because there's so many matches. There's going to be so many surprise results. This was a close one in terms of being a surprise, but I think both sides should be very happy with how they played. In terms of the performance, it's such a game of luck, football is, because it's so low scoring. There's so few margins. And the Pogba penalty, ultimately, that was just one bit of luck that went Man United's way. It didn't go Aston Villa's way. So another day they get the result. This day, however, the points go to Ole's men, which huge points for them because we've seen how good Villa have been. They drew Chelsea, beat Liverpool, obviously.
4 wins in 5 for United, 33 points, level with Liverpool on points,
And
7 behind on goal difference.
But a chance to go past them with the game in hand.
On the 17th. Well, no, they played Burnley before.
They played Burnley 5 days beforehand.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm interested how that's going to impact Man United because they have the game tomorrow against Man City. They have the game on Saturday, I believe, against Watford. And they have a game on Tuesday against Burnley and then Liverpool. Well, Liverpool only have a game against Aston Villa on the weekend. I don't know if that extra time is going to be good for Liverpool or bad, considering that they've just been so bad and they want to
they've
be
had
better
more
on the
time
field.
than any other club throughout the festive fixtures period, and it hasn't helped because they've
at all.
scored 1 goal, but we'll get to that in a minute. So United, again, level with Liverpool. Villa, 8th on, again, 26 points. There are so many clubs, 23, 26, 29. They are just 3 points off of the top 4. United, to your point, Burnley away. Villa, home to Spurs, which should be another interesting match.
Great one.
All right, Spurs and Leeds. Leeds just did not show up. Kane, Son, Alderweireld, game set match. That was it. Leeds didn't do anything to deserve points here. Spurs looked very, very good, even with the gift from Meslier early on that created the penalty that Kane then, of course, converted. 2-1 on the XG here. 2.88 for Spurs, 1.31 for Leeds.
Yeah, it was like a knife slicing through butter on that Kane pass to Son for the second one.
Oh, my goodness.
And they've been great this season. They've been world class. When they play at that level, then they are unstoppable. They are one of the best sides in the league. Issue is that you can't expect that to happen week in, week out. But I'm very interested where Spurs go from here because they obviously beat Brentford today to go to a Carabao Cup final. Chance for a first trophy in a very long time for Spurs. They're in the ascendancy, and if they can win a trophy against a Manchester club.
Mourinho's 3rd time in the final, 3 different clubs?
I believe so. Yeah, he's
Chelsea,
a bit of a love for that trophy. Leeds, it's tough to say they didn't deserve anything for the points because they just were poor defensively, and that's kind of what you expect from them.
Yeah,
and their chances just they were okay chances, but Bamford, he's a great striker, great movement, has a good finisher on his day, wasn't his day that day. So I don't think you can be too negative for Leeds. They've been a bit hit or miss this season. That's kind of how they're going to be. I think they're pretty okay in terms of their quest for safety. And as they get more experience in the Premier League, these kinds of matches will be they'll have a bit more experience in them, be a bit stronger in them. But I think this is just a case of experience differences and Spurs having 2 very world-class players and Leeds having pretty much none.
Spurs 4th on the 29 points that everybody seems to have in the top 4. Leeds to 12th on 23, just 6 points back, separating those 8 spots.
And what's interesting is if this result was flipped, then Leeds would have been level with Spurs, obviously. So there's no reason for them to be dismayed. Yeah. No reason for them to be dismayed because you just get a few positive results and you're back in the discussion for a really good finish.
23 points nearly halfway through the season. You're pretty happy if you're Marcelo Bielsa.
Especially where everyone else is.
Spurs up away Aston Villa in the Premier League. Next, Leeds home to Brighton, where they will hope to pick up some of those valuable 3 points. Chelsea, Man City. Uh-oh.
You talk about not showing up and deserving anything. That's Chelsea.
Chelsea and Lampard. Uh-oh. Whoever has to play Man City next. Uh-oh.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say if this was Chelsea's sheer ineptitude or really City's just kind of, in that ascendancy, even though they don't have the real strike force that you expect from them. 3 goals finally for them getting out of that binary 1-0 kind of situation. But they are also depleted with 6 COVID-19 either positive tests or isolations. And yet, we said Lampard and Chelsea have to capitalize. They did not. They did not show up. 0.77 xG to nearly 3 for Man City.
Yeah, this was one of the more clean matches in terms of the xG. I was very happy to see it. There was no overperforming,
match.
No really underperforming either. It was just very nice. It was just almost 1 to 3 in xG. It's problem times for Chelsea. I think that we've seen in the past that when clubs have had, or when Chelsea have had a poor runs of form, they are quick to sack the manager because that's just who they are.
But they weren't as good as we thought they were in the first half of the season, or first half of that, where they had that unbelievable run.
You still lost 4 of 6.
And they had won matches maybe they shouldn't have won in the front half.
I
so
think
you're never as good as you think you are, and you're never as bad as you think you are.
I would agree with you if Lampard had deserved the job when he first got it. And ultimately, Lampard has done a good job for what he can do. He had about a year with Derby where he kind of underperformed with a pretty good side. He has, in his first year, he integrated a lot of academy talent and got top 4. That's a great season. This year, the expectations were higher. You got to go top 3, top 2. And considering how
But did he create his own unrealistic expectations based on last season?
It's Chelsea. You can't be having lower expectations. You compare him to Arteta. Arsenal have lower expectations than Chelsea, and that's okay. That's just okay. But Chelsea have spent more. You need to have more results and better results.
But the headlines in the reporting is so inconsistent.
I would be okay with having Lampard having a few more weeks if I was a Chelsea fan. If it was a bit further out. People say, oh, they're only 7 off the top. That's why he should stay. I argue you're 7 off the top. That's why he should go. Get someone who is more experienced than him, able to manage these egos, able to develop a quick tactical style, because this year it's been unfortunate. They've had a lot of midweek matches. You haven't been able to train fully. You haven't been able to do a lot of the normal things that you can do, and yet you need to get points and you need to perform well. This was just a bad result.
It was terrible.
It never looked like
not defending it by any stretch.
It never looked like they were at any point in the game, and there are just indefensible decisions. Callum Hudson-Odoi on the bench. I don't know if he was fully fit to start or not. He should be starting. He scored their only goal of the game. Pulisic had a bit of a down game. That's why they were bad, because he had been carrying them for several weeks. Mason Mount, I like him a lot, but there's question marks over his ability. And Conte is a shell of his former self. Defensively, Mendy looked like it was the purple patch is what it looked like when he was having his first few matches. Thiago Silva looks like he's 36 years old. And
he got beat bad a couple of times.
There are so many issues with this with this Chelsea side, that I think you have to bring in a manager to try and capitalize on the strengths that you have and try and push forward for top 4. And a title race isn't out of the question if you have a good manager, a Thomas Tuchel, an Allegri, a Simeone if you get a Simeone. That'd be a tough one, but he'd be a great one, I think, at Chelsea.
Awful to watch.
Positives, though, for Man City. They looked great. They were able to handle the losses perfectly. De Bruyne having a great performance.
They've got so much depth, it's ridiculous.
Bruno Fernandes is a phenomenal talent, but Kevin De Bruyne is the best midfielder in the world. I think that it's very safe to say that. He proved that today, or not today. He proved that when the match happened. And I think that this is a big result for City because, if I'm not mistaken, they have 2 games in hand and they're 4 off Liverpool. You win your 2 in hand, and you pass Liverpool. Obviously, you're top of the table. And so they're at home to Brighton next. Should win that one. And then Chelsea away to Fulham. Have to win that one. I think that is. I've said the last few matches that if they don't win, or they drop points, then it's Lampard out. I'm kind of being proven right because there's a lot of pressure on him. If they draw to Fulham or worse, I anticipate he's gone.
I don't know if he'd be gone, but there's so much inconsistency in the reporting on it. It's like people are saying, yeah, he's on the hot seat. Like, no, the board backs him. Abramovich is fine. So somewhere in between there is the truth, right? And we will find out in the next month what the situation
I don't think with the history of Abramovich at Chelsea, you can confidently say that he's not thinking about it. He's, of course, thinking about it.
But you got a giant number. that you got to pay him out, right? It's money that you don't necessarily want to spend, and then you're going to have to go on to spend a ton of money on another manager.
The final point on it is Lampard is, at this point in his career, not a good manager. I say the same thing with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He has a lot of flaws to his managerial game. And he's
tactically both very
he's had a
unsound.
lot more time than Lampard has. And Arteta as well, a lot of issues as well. So the issue is Chelsea don't have the room for the growing pains because they've spent too much. So I think ultimately Lampard is a club legend. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back for a second stint eventually. But this one just feels like it's just not it.
Next up, Southampton.
Wow.
Liverpool.
Speaking of on the hot seat,
so
is Klopp gone?
Danny Ings, the 2-minute goal against his former club, and that was it.
Yeah.
Southampton really didn't create much after that. Liverpool didn't do much with the chances that they created. They've scored now just one of the last three, shut out 2 consecutive matches. Ralph Hasenhüttl, overcome with emotion, dropping to his knees as the full-time whistle blew. Could not have been more happy with the way his team performed. They deserve the full 3 points, even though they only mustered a .33 XG to Liverpool's 1.63.
Yeah. Speaking in confidence of Frank Lampard, this was a guy who lost 9-0 at this place just over a year ago to Leicester City. And here they are taking points off the champions, taking 3 points off the champions at your place. Huge result for them. They were defensively stout, and they proved what we've seen for several weeks now. For Liverpool, if you just pack the box, they can't create because it just seems kind of fundamentally flawed that you have an out-of-form Trent Alexander-Arnold crossing to short players. It's not going to work.
No, it's a terrible combination.
It's just not going to work.
And you have Jordan Henderson and Fabinho as your center-back pairing, who are midfielders.
Yes.
They're now missing from your midfield.
I think Thiago was very good for them. He's still obviously really out of fitness. I expect him to be a few more weeks before he gets back to his full level that he can be at. Mane is woefully out of form, or Salah is woefully out of form. Mane was the only one creating anything. Firmino links the plate decently, but he, I think, sometimes struggles from having a lack of directness, and they needed directness in this game. You think, what if Erling Haaland was your leading man in this game? A big Norwegian head to get up there and score a goal for you. Southampton, I think, were a bit fortunate to get the points here because they allowed a lot to Liverpool, and ultimately they were able to score a lucky goal, it has to be said. They were a bit of a threat on the counter.
Better to be lucky than good in some circumstances.
But for Liverpool, I think that they need to win this Man United game or else they're going to be in a really tough run of form because 3 without a win in the Premier League is a big, big loss. Whenever United have taken 7 from their last 3, they've gained the ground, and when they play them in their next Premier League match, there's a very good chance that United are ahead of them in the table. And that is not what you want to see because the defensive span of Liverpool has been, they've been terrible this year, but they're still top. They're still top. Well, what happens when you're not top anymore? What happens when you're now trailing both Manchester clubs? I think that James Pearce denied Sven Botman, said that there's no chance it's happening, that it's not even a smoke screen, it's just not coming, which I think would have been a very good signing for them. They're rumored for Alaba, but he wants Real Madrid. I just cannot imagine a Liverpool side that is genuinely wanting to compete this season, not wanting to sign at least one senior center back. To at least send one of your midfielders back into the midfield because it's just such a difference because they were disjointed playing from the back. They were lacking options in the midfield. Oxlade-Chamberlain is not a good central midfielder. He's still...
They're trying to get scoring out of the midfield is what they're trying to do.
Yes. I am not sure what they're going to do in their next match against Man United. They perform very well in big matches when the side is going to come out to them more. I think in that match, I imagine a draw. So a lot of issues for Liverpool to deal with. You're still definitely in a title race. No chance that you're out of it already. There's still more than half the season remaining. So United fans saying that it's title number 21 in 2021, it's poetic. It'd be very storied for Solskjaer to win it. But I still favor Liverpool for the title. And I think it's going to come down to that Man United match. If this side really has fundamental problems that they need to work on, that match will prove it. For Southampton, though, they got the goal, defended well, and they're 4 points at the top. They are playing very well, and they're overperforming their expected points. They overperformed their XG in this game. But, I mean, you take these matches when you can. This was a case of them being mentally stronger. And the last thing I'll say about Liverpool is you think the last 2 seasons, what were they? They were mental monsters. Yep. I forget what mentality monsters. That sounded wrong. Mental monsters sounded wrong.
That sounds like crazy.
That sounds like they're crazy. They had it because they wanted that first Premier League title. They finally won it, and then they were pretty much drunk
It's
for the
hard
rest
to
of last
repeat.
season.
Ask City.
It's hard to repeat, and they just have not had that same level of energy. Because last season, this match, you need a goal. At least 3 or 4 players are saying, I'm the one to go pick up that and nick that goal. In this same fixture last year, Henderson back to go from midfield. Salah had his one where he tore off his shirt after I think scoring the 3rd one in that match. After they were losing 1-0 in this same fixture after an early goal from Southampton. So there's been several wake-up calls last few weeks. I just wonder if this is the one that's the loudest. It's the first loss you've had in a while since the Villa match, which that match was a wake-up call. They were very good for a few weeks. If this is a similar wake-up call for them.
Well, they have Villa again this weekend. We'll see what that brings.
And I think that Man United game, we're excited for it because it's 2 of the better sides in the league. But I can't help but feel that's going to be a boring 0-0, 1-1 draw.
Both gonna be
Rashford's going to score a goal, and Mane's going to score a scrappy goal, and it's going to be 1-1. And they're just going to continue the title race irrespective of each other.
Well, Southampton have an interesting one. They sit 6th on 29. Again, that glut of clubs on 29. 3 out of 3rd, 4 out of top. But they play Leicester at Leicester City next up, which will be an interesting match to see how both those teams coming off of decent form over the last 5. And then Liverpool, as you mentioned, next up against United. United have a match in between then and now against Burnley, which you can
two more than Liverpool do.
Up ahead. Right, put them ahead on points.
I really don't know what to expect from Liverpool or Man United or even Man City or Chelsea or Arsenal or Spurs or Southampton.
This is 2020, 2021 season.
What I love is how every game is just anything could happen. But what I hate is we always look dumb because we said Chelsea was going to beat Arsenal by 2 goals. We said Liverpool by 2 or 3 in this one. Maybe we didn't say that exactly, but
I thought Chelsea would do better against City.
Yes,
that didn't happen.
We thought that was going to be they were going to be motivated at least in that one. They weren't motivated in that one. The craziest thing about this season for me is Sheffield United underperforming their expected points by 13.
God, they're terrible.
No side in the last 7 years has underperformed their expected points worse than them. Only other ones were
1 goal difference. They scored 8 goals through 17 matches.
They've created a lot of chances to score on the XG, but that's on a computer simulation. That's not on a football pitch.
It's not actually what's
good for nerds like us, but it's
happening
bad for athletic people who actually play the sport.
That'll do it for week 17 and the festive fixtures. Thankfully, take a bit of a break. There is some FA Cup and Carabao Cup on the horizon. We will be back for week 18. Jack, Conrad, 45. Please do comment. Let us know what you think. Subscribe, like, and all that good stuff. Look for us on the Twitter at the 45. Take care now.